Is that how much it costs?
No, that's the...
No, he's commentating.
He'll be commentating.
Yeah, well, I know. I would have sat up there and got into the game. And I could have...
Well, yeah,
No, he's not doing. He isn't doing this one.
he's only over 2 weeks.
That waiting for the gun, the nerves are just too much, thinking about what is about to go down.
There goes the horn to start the race.
No, I think it's really amazing. And now the whole setup and people are dressed up.
We're giving something, I think, to the people is just fantastic.
The support on the side of the road is second to none, and that gives you the extra oomph.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. The scenery is beyond what I could imagine. I seriously enjoyed it. I met so many wonderful people on the way.
Really enjoying Cape Town. People seem to really appreciate artwork here, which is really nice.
Come and visit Cape Town. We are waiting for you with open arms. We welcome you here. This will remain a city of hope and opportunity for everyone, not just in Cape Town, but around the country and the world.
And he takes the tape.
Cape Town is open, safe, and ready to host you.
Welcome to this Masters World Cup game. We've got an interesting game coming up here between England and the USA, but it's the Spirit of Masters teams that get chosen in the interest of hockey and the guys that want to go on tour. We've got a fantastic game coming up here. I'm joined today by one of the most legendary goalkeepers in the game and commentator turned extraordinaire, Mr. Simon Mason, or as they call him in France, Simon Massot. Simon, so fantastic to have you with us. Good to be in Cape Town.
It's one of my favourite places in the entire world. Thank you very much for that. The goalkeeping bit was a long time ago, but I appreciate the words. And for now, it's just an opportunity to comment on the group of players for whom participating is absolutely everything. We know there's some teams here who are trying to actually win the World Cup, and they take it very, very seriously. But for this is a combination of that performance, participation, and enjoying the Cape Town sunshine, and maybe just a small shandy.
That's perfect going. As this game's got going now, we've got teams are going head-to-head. I love the way the game starts and everybody's super earnest, and as the game gets going, the friendly smiles are coming out, a bit of banter. The teams are back to them out here. We're in sunny Cape Town, beautiful day today. A little counter-attack coming up through here. It's been broken down.
Great chase-back tackle from Sahota, trying to put a little bit of pressure on Alan Daly as he carries that forwards.
Great circle into. There's going to be a tuck back on the line.
It'll be interesting to see whether this pans out like the last game did, which basically ended up 5v5, defence v attack. There's absolutely no midfield, and as the legs tire, the spaces really do open.
Great circle entry again. Just the ball back in the game. Same outcome. The last game was fantastic. We had some of the most epic long-range hitters in the game, hitting the ball cleanly, 50, 60 yards, and of course the forwards known that were camping very, very high. We had no midfield. We simply gained tennis game, gained end-to-end. Malaysia coming out on top of that one, but just barely.
It's also fabulous to watch a different skill set. I mean, we watch a lot of hockey, obviously, and you sometimes see the juniors, and it's slap this and pass that and backhand this, but there is still properly good use of an old skill, stop it and tap it, find that early pass, find that long ball, different range.
Yeah, some of these players have been playing hockey for so long and have these skills ingrained in them. England just battling down this right-hand side, trying to find a circle entry. With an anxious tackling coming in. As we get settled into the game, we need to see us getting to learn the players' names as we go along.
Oh, getting close to the Scottish umpire, Ian Moss. Yes, a fantastic tumble from Moss, apparently, as a backhand shot went at his head. He managed to backwards roll on this very field, signal for the penalty corner whilst sitting down, and then get himself back up again.
That is one of the most spectacular moments of the game. I actually asked him what happened, and he said he didn't have any confidence in the forward striking the ball on target, and so he just went for protective cover. He said he heard the ball go in there, so he was confident when he gave the ball that it had gone in by earshot.
Great pass.
Trying to get the ball across.
Oh, Candy, one or two players here who play for Woking Hockey Club, which I have to say I train with at least once a week if I can, so really good pace and skill level. Try and link up with Mark Robinson, who also plays for Woking. Oh, it's gone in.
Superb cross. I think that went through about 6 or 7 players. Unexpected arrival at the far post.
Well, it's Andy Allen who scored that. Just tapped it in. Goalkeeper not having a great time. Really should have done better. Well, Andy will be delighted to have got on the score sheet a new granddad just on Thursday of last week. Grandchild born, as yet to be unnamed as of yet, so maybe he'll come off this one and decide that he wants to nominate Andy as the grandchild's name, assuming it's a boy.
Yes, they try to get some ball going forward there. Not really the ball across the halfway line yet. toe, just trying to get the ball going. Clear the ball quite cleanly. Trying to set up the next moving game here. Andrew Allen. Richard Candy, but Ford's overrunning the ball there. Looked like they were super keen to get higher, but no connection made.
Yeah, Stuart Aldrich, wasn't it, right at the front of that as Candy's cut in from the left-hand side. He's looked up and Aldrich has made that run from the right to the left-hand, the near post. But it's a really good, difficult deflection opportunity. You kind of want to hold late and then accelerate onto that floated pass. And by cutting all the way across, there was no support behind.
Any deflection you overrun is never going to work too well. Especially when you've had a couple of years in your legs. They don't seem to bend and flex as much as they used to.
Or even during the course of one game. It's where you see that intent. You spoke about it earlier on in that Malaysia game, how in the beginning it was relatively structured, but then it just kind of fell away a little bit. And you then, towards the end of it, you see players going, I can definitely hit a low backhand reverse. No, you can't. You definitely aren't getting down that low. Or if you do, you're not getting up again.
I think the physiotherapist can have some work to do after that game.
What I think is brilliant across the entire tournament is the commitment to the game. So whilst physically that players may struggle a little bit, mentally there is absolutely the competition, the commitment, the wanting the tackle, the 50-50 battles, etc. And it's only as the legs start to tie, you suddenly see, oh, that's maybe a little bit out of reach.
I remember speaking to some of the players before the game, how at the 60-plus levels for some of these people haven't played international hockey before. They're still nervous before the game. They play so much hockey in their life at all the different levels, and yet before every game, they get the nerves tingling, they get excited, and they want to go and play hockey.
The disguise down the middle wasn't good enough from Kamjit Singh as he just tried to play that under his arm with the hit ball, and now he's got to make some ground out to the right-hand side.
Great circle entry, trying to force that baseline, although 4 or 5 inches along that right-hand baseline haven't gone anywhere yet. Might be looking to go elsewhere. I see just camping on the edge of the D. Mark Robinson was sneaking in there, hoping for a tuck back. He seems to be lurking on the outside.
Go on, roll under your arm. It's one of those moments from up here, you've got a great angle to look down on it, and as Mark Sydenham picks that up, and you can see the space outside his right shoulder, just roll in and give it a smash.
Long crashing ball up the back. With his driver out today, hit him very cleanly. That has been fascinating. Coming from world tournaments you've been commentating lately, where you see maybe 1 or 2 hits in the game, and every single shot has a hit and very few slaps.
There's no slaps, because to execute a slap properly, you've got to get your knuckles somewhere near the floor, and that is not going to happen at any point in this game, unless they fall over.
Line on the ground, maybe, yes. Doesn't overlap here. Can they make hay of this?
Oh, that was nearly a genius substitution, because coming on from the bench, Richard Wesencraft, also known just as Wes, plays for Harrogate back in the UK, and he rolled on from this left-hand side, full lead across the turf, and then managed to nearly get a stick on the end of it.
England having most of the territory at the moment. Keeping the US in their own half. Conrad from the far side trying to find a 2-point. Tackle there, a little bit stick involved.
Well, it goes all the way back to the foul that Candy just didn't move the ball on quickly enough, having been given that beautiful pass down to the T-point, as you say. He then just didn't get it across the circle, and then the chase back was a little bit ropey. For the US at the moment, it just feels like it's a bit hit and hope coming out the back, doesn't it? There's 3 guys standing pretty static, all looking to distribute from that first phase position and get the ball, and then there's no change of line, there's no change of angle. I understand, I know that's difficult, but you can still move a couple of meters away from where you receive it and just change some of the passing lanes.
I've got the same thing with rugby, where there's kicking over the top and bypassing the midfield. Often you want to play as much with your midfield as possible to get them in the action, making them turn. And if you hit a couple of balls past them, they lose interest, they start fetching for you. It becomes a lonely game at the back.
Well, and that's frustratingly for the US, that's playing into England's hands, because you're in a situation now where England do have territorial dominance. They've had the possession in this first 10 minutes. Every time the US give possession away, it just comes back with interest. So they have to find their midfield. They have to play that 10-metre pass in, retain possession, work 10 passes, and that means the opposition are then having to do the legwork, not yourselves.
England transferring the ball nicely. They've got wide open space on the left. Conrad making the cut across, trying to scan. Just no run coming. Is it Canyon?
Well, yeah, it was Candy on the far post, but it was Comrath, wasn't it? It was cut left to right. And it's exactly what we talked about in reverse against the USA. So USA are passing from static positions, but because Comrath picked that on the left, first touch changes the line, he then drives across the turf. The passing lanes change, and that's what the US have got to find their midfield.
Yeah, the US are guilty of playing a lot of static ball when they're trying to hit it. Nice pass, centre of the field.
Good tackle. Lovely little step through. Sahota, as he steps in, just literally flicks a stick at the end of that and gets enough on it. That's a great ball.
Onto the right flank and the cutback as well. And the critical tackle. Still got control. Trying to find his way around there. Aaron Daly just holding up the play, but very clearly. Didn't have something on. Go back, keep possession. Don't rush. Trying to get the P-spot. A whole lot of freshies, and the baseline wins that one.
It's that miss-hit bobble into the middle of the circle, isn't it? You've got 14 different people all having a bit of a swing at it. Pinder cut in field really, really well, Pinder Sago, and he did try to do it twice. The first time I thought he'd won the free hit and didn't get it from Moss, the umpire, and then he's cut back in field on the second one. It's just beautiful show on the outside, cut across the body. It's kind of that V-drag that the youngsters talk about. That definitely wasn't a V-drag, but the same principle.
There are some cliches in sport that come up, and the wounded rabbit, the ball bouncing along, wherever that came into sport, I don't know, but that was definitely
The wounded rabbit. That's absolute genius. And it just skips and hops. Is that it?
Doesn't know which way it's going to go. The players don't know which way it's going to go. If you see the first short corner of the match, little foot in the circle there. Line up now and decide how they're going to put this one away. A whole lot of Chiefs getting together to decide how this happens.
It's brilliant. They all come together at the top of the circle. What's the routine? Inject it, stop it, hit it. There's lots of people go, go on, I'll have a go.
Tony Brummel, the captain's at the main hitting position, so I think he's called it himself. Ball has come out. Brimble waiting with his. And the objective gets left behind. It's happened a couple of times. Good movement. Still in the game.
Well, England have done well there just to recycle that. It was a dreadful injection. I mean, it's no pace on it at all. It's got stuck on the turf that might be just drying out slightly. You can probably see in the pictures that there's two tones to the turf. The lighter tone is where it gets a little bit drier. Just get it out to the top. Robinson ready to trap.
All popping up in the air and just great save.
Well, I'm okay with that. The umpires give them really good advantage because the number one runner has basically thrown himself. I mean, you could happily get a little bit strict on that and say that's a deliberate offence in the circle, but really good advantage from the umpire. That'd be a corner. But in that first phase of play, to allow that shot finally to go on goal, and Harwinder Diol had got to get that left hand across it. Really good from Jan Dekker of the Netherlands, the umpire at that end.
That first wave had commitment, but we've seen when people leave their feet, umpires getting really on their case. In fact, in the previous game, there was when Ramajan got on the side of the game and just left his feet, and the player pulled it back into him, and the umpire deemed that it's deliberate. Get a P-flick.
That's a great little finish on that left-hand side. It come out to Robinson. on the trap, and by going across the top of the circle, he opened up the angles a little bit. It came across, it took a defensive touch, didn't it, on the way through, but I think the final touch was Matt Goodwin.
Ball popped up, and from that close range to have a reflex, unbelievable, just tapping it in. Always good when the injectors follow up, just to make sure that anything does pop loose over there, they can play off. The job isn't finished after the injection, there's still work to be done.
Rolling through midfield, really good skill from Malik Akhtar, but that's lifted horribly. So Mark Sydenham's been caught just on the edge of his eye, so a bit of a blood injury. He'll get out, often get that seen to. Oh. Yeah, it's off his own stick. I mean, the first hit was lifted, and I think English should get the free hit because the first ball up was halfway up his stick. It has come off his own stick and elevated itself into his face, so maybe it's taken a little bit of pace off it. Well, the medics down beneath us are going to be patching him up. It wouldn't surprise me to see him going back in pretty quickly.
Fantastic ball. This is good hockey. Just keeping the ball moving from the sideline back inside, and then back onto that right hand internal again. They struggle there. Ball loose in the circle. First time shot. And Daly just couldn't get the angle on it. It's straight to the keeper's pads. Often happens when we give forwards a bit of instinctive shooting. They just want to hit it as hard as they can. Just lose their direction. The US just struggling to get out of that half.
No, he's probably going to have
And Akhtar again, really good dribble down the middle, and it's a bit of an overlap down that right-hand side from Hundal, who gives some support, but it's just a little bit sporadic. There isn't that intensity. You've still got, as we look down on the field, you've still got 5 or even 6 players behind the ball, and in the conditions, and it is warm out there, the sun's beating down, and the US have got to commit a couple more players to support that ball carrier in the middle.
Set up a nice press, waiting for it. That brings us to the end of the first quarter. England deservedly 2 love up here. And the States are going to have to go find some coaching on the sideline to see what they can bring back to the second chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually standing up there waiting for the game to start so they can check it out. See your opposition. It's the USA. Hey, is it? You scored one.
Game, I know. Yeah. And especially yes, I know. I know. You have to get better. I mean, hopefully you're the better team of the pool. Hopefully. Yeah. I don't know, like Scotland.
Welcome back to the second quarter here. This is the spirit of hockey match between the England team and the USA team. Fantastic to watch these guys out on the pitch. Ending up 2-0 at the moment. Simon, your thoughts on the game so far?
Really enjoying it. It's a little one way, and the US have got to work out how they hold the ball better and use their midfield more. It feels like, particularly on the 16s, well, what is now 15-metre restart, isn't it? There's some old school language. But that's suitable to this tournament, I have to say. Let's get some old school. Bring back the bully. We've got some 16-yard restarts. And it feels like they're hitting long and bypassing midfield. They need to find, as best they can, they've got to try and find the midfield of Malik Akhtar just a little bit more, but he then needs left and right midfield on either shoulder. It's a little bit isolated.
Everybody spread wide on the USA team. So nobody's in the midfield. The England team's in the midfield. They keep picking the ball up.
Well, you can look at the gap now. You can see the gap between Rob Groot, who's come forwards at the front of the USA midfield. He's tried really hard to create a forward link to the front three, but all of a sudden there's this massive gap that England can exploit.
Circle entry on the baseline. Going to tuck the ball back. Just tucked it back straight into, I think it's the USA captain, his stick. Getting no joy from that right-hand baseline runs. They running it too far in and then tucking it back onto a stick instead of tucking it back a bit earlier, maybe just slowing down and finding the pass option.
But you can see why they won't get any joy, because look at the USA defence. You've got a three-player, probably zonal defence sitting in front of the goalkeeper. Very little circle marking. So England need to commit more players into the shoulders of the circle, the penalty spot, almost to create a 5 on a dice tactically. And if that's the situation, you're only talking about probably a 2-metre movement in the circle, and England can pick each other out. At the moment, they're just floating a ball into a congested area. It's not the smartest set of plays.
Long ball again, yeah, you're right. Ball back to the edge of the D, so underrated. Everybody wants to get to the piece point to score, and then 10 people standing on top of each other, this doesn't work.
I think particularly with the amount of possession England are getting down that right-hand side, if they can pull the ball back on the 90 to the shoulder and then look to fire it towards forward post, all of the defensive angles open up, because the defenders then have to make that choice. If they step out, they leave that space behind them. If they hold back, they give away the shooting opportunity. And I think that the question that asks tactically is what England need to answer. Oh, great take, Robert.
Back to the edge, and there's somebody at the edge of the D looking for it.
Go on, hit it.
Mark Robinson trying to crack off, just not getting any joy.
And that's a brilliant step up. I mean, that's a proper international quality step up from the skipper. Brimble plays for City of York, but that's quality. That, on the other hand, is average. Unfortunately, as Alan Daly just floats it off the sideline.
I don't think Tim Blackburn is too interesting running for that one.
Or maybe I do him a disservice. Maybe there was a touch in the middle of it because England have got that free hit.
Good skill work through, taking the P spot.
That's hit a foot in the middle of that.
Yes, a lot of clanging and battering going on as the ball went through there. So England get award another short corner for the foot. It's their second of the game. Well, second. They had a couple of re-awards on the previous one. But they moved around. Which is a little bit dry on this corner, so I see them watching with a big canister of water behind them to get themselves a bit of moisture on the turf for injection.
They have to blow that. They can't let that take place. Seriously. Well, they're going to give the goal. They're going to give the advantage. But if a player breaks the line, you have to stop that because then everybody stops and it becomes dangerous. I don't want to be critical of umpires, but Jan Dekker, you'll classify that as a good advantage because England scored the goal. But I think if a player breaks the line, we know what the rules are. That player goes to halfway. Then it's a three-man defence. You have to stop that. They've kind of got away with it. England have benefited, but that's where danger starts to be created.
The whole short corner team stopped playing there. And the minute that happens, somebody's looking in to shoot it. You've just got to catch it wrong, and every single person inside the box is in danger.
Good wheels, really good pace around the outside from Wesencraft.
The ball is just
until he ran out of pitch.
He'll claim there's a downhill slope there. The ball ran away from him.
Brilliant. I'm writing that in my notes next time I do some Pro League commentary. That is a downhill slope that's caused that to run away from him.
I've seen some fantastic cricket pitches in England where there's downhill slopes all over the place.
I've got no issue with a cricket pitch. A turf, however, is a wholly different thing.
All in my head. England just camping outside again, trying to find circle entries. But being patient, which is good to see. They haven't forced everything in. They kept moving the ball around.
Well, and whilst we want a fast-paced and exciting game, this is where England have to be smart, because the USA are sitting back, they're deep, and you don't break through a deep-seated defence phase one. England have got to look at 6, 7, 8 passes into congested area, then find a sensible pass, as they are doing now. This is second phase. They were right side, weren't they, to start with? They were right side, top back to the skipper at kind of point at a centre-back position.
Patient game if they...
No, that's a good tackle. That's a great tackle. Jagtar Sahota has stepped forwards and he's absolutely nicked it off Mark D'Souza's stick. Then D'Souza's clattered the stick of Sahota. I think that's harsh.
That often happens. The umpires umpire their ears. You hear the clang and there must be something that happened there. Not watching what happened first for team. We're building up for a drag flick, it looks like.
Now stop it. He's broken the line. Don't. I'm gonna just move on from this because I'm repeating myself from last time. Goalie's got a save. That's fine. Maybe they blow it differently in Holland.
Stanyan was lining up for a drag flick there, but like you said, the break early has got to be blown. Great pass to the T-point. Can he find across the face? Really, really good build-up play. And Conrad just lined himself up with the far post in the open goal. Ball a little bit of height, it's difficult to deal with, and he just collected it. Look at him, showing us his number. Make sure the TV cameras get it.
That global audience that he's looking for to make sure we name check him. But actually in the build-up, the beautiful thing in the build-up down the right-hand side was the trap on the ball and the pullback. It just drew the last defender in and allowed the ball to be thrown across that baseline. Really clever ball handling down that right-hand side. Again, England looking for that right side build-up. It's where they've got dividends. That's a lovely ball. Well, I've got to say, I've not seen that signal at any point. I'm not. Well, I'm not sure what that is. Is that because his stick was too high? He's carried it around the head of an opponent, maybe. We'll interpret that later.
Both of us at that time, because we both had the most confused looks on our faces, trying to read what that was.
I can confuse myself quite happily. I do not need any support from on field.
Helicopter landing, that was a signal.
So the US is still trying to stretch play. They've got a centre forward who is right up on the penalty spot, or way out of our camera shot, trying to create a little bit of length because it does open up the midfield a bit. But the issue will be whether the Spirit of Masters United States side have got the legs to be able to work through midfield a little bit more. Candy, however, at that moment has size 12s, and he's just absolutely booted it in the circle with no pressure at all.
A lot of the players gone through Mark D'Souza. He's been instrumental in the build-up player with a lot of the movements.
Oh. Akhtar, so unfortunate. He's done so well to pick that, and having picked it, he took 90% of the pace off it, and then again it found his foot.
England being patient again. No pressure on the midfield. I think Alan Daly could have a cigarette and take his time over there. So much to go. Great ball. D'Souza to the nip. Tapping is becoming a regular occurrence here.
Well, I think Candy's managed to nick that one. It went under the goalkeeper in the first instance. I think the final touch comes in from him as it goes in. Lovely little crossfield ball. This was in the main build-up before the free hit's then given. In and then the ball through. This is where we talked about having enough time to float this forwards. Well, a commentating friend of mine, Todd Williams, says that's a seagull goal. He's swooped down and poached it like a chip on a pier. Yes. Oh, Andy Allen trying to find the pass to the baseline. He puts his own hands on his head. Just make sure that was looking for that pass to baseline. Didn't quite get the link that he was looking for. And he knew that the opportunity was there as he was looking for Stuart Aldrich on the baseline. Didn't find him.
Rolling the ball up there, but just couldn't get it in the end. Again, the US trying to find the long ball every time, just not getting. And then coming forward again, Marcus Souza trying to get the ball catted up onto him. If I give him the blow there, decided he deserved that. Shoot Aldrich to the baseline, Andrew Allen. Clear path in front of him. I think the umpires have now given a little bit of advantage in terms of the scoreboard.
Yeah, there's 50-50 looking there, wasn't there? There was a potential foot on it, but Michael Merckx, as he stepped forward, it came off him and went out for a long corner. That 23-metre restart. Pindasagu stepped up to support Robinson on his left shoulder. Robinson doesn't need it, drives in. That is a fabulous goal.
That's just good indoor hockey. Baseline cross, touch goal.
Robinson to Allen to Candy. It was across the goalkeeper. There's absolutely nothing that Howinder Diol can do.
Again, the English player holding the ball just outside the circle's got no pressure, so the whole England link lineup's got time to pick any pass inside the circle. And they can go anywhere.
Well, I've got a question. It's the signal there, right on the restart from Malik Akhtar, is to force his forwards, and he's literally flipping his hands out. So it's Matt Lisiadello that he's trying to get high up the turf on the right-hand side. You've got Dipinder Grewal, and he's forcing them away and then trying to smash that long ball. And they've had absolutely zero touches, and I still think little triangles through midfield. Go free hit, free hit, free hit, free hit. 5 metres at a time.
Coming across, and another great ball across the face of the goal. Marcus Souza arriving late, ball in front, lovely tapping.
That's a fabulous floated ball across, isn't it? But you can only play that ball if you've got the support run. You talked about it earlier on about if you don't make the runs, if you don't give the passes, the runs then stop. And England at the moment are really finding the links, and that encourages players to then work for each other. So Candy had the opportunity to float it because D'Souza had done the running.
That was a real good movement back. Also, they took it at pace. They didn't slow down. It was trying to get behind them before the US can get a setup going. Unfortunately, you could just see the US trying to throw a long ball, long ball, long ball. Arif Mahmoud up front there with a headband on, just unable to collect that.
Well, you feel that he could possibly led a little more aggressively underneath that overhead. The defender would have had to back off and give him the space. It felt like he was there first. In that instance, the umpire, Ian Woodward, had to make that decision. Ian Moss, sorry, step away, give the space. Great steal. 4 on 3. This is training ground. Find the space, carry, commit the last defender, find the last pass. Candy on the far post. Oh! Andy Allen had made such a fabulous run, and England has set themselves up. It was Candy on the far post, Allen on the near post, and he knows absolutely goal at his mercy. Well, in rugby terms, it's 2 points for the conversion, but it's absolutely nothing on the scoreboard for this.
The crowd gave a
However, if you talk technically about the pattern that England created, the awareness of where the spaces were, spot on 4-on-3, take it to the middle, commit the last defender, pop it to space, and then look cross-field. You're opening up your opponent, you're drawing them one way and finding space the other.
So often at the junior levels, the guy that got the ball first carries it into a tackle instead of making the first early pass. So that first early pass is fantastic. Wide to the surgeon. Any confusion there?
Well, Andy Allen with a pair of steel shins taking that one down as Asim Siddiqui had tried to blast it through him.
No pressure on the link line, so they've got time to make any pass they want to. They've been generous not going forward.
Oh, you just look, I mean, the US have got a back division of what, 6 or 7 now, who are literally stationary, holding lines to try and police into the circle. But Candy is standing on the penalty spot. You could argue is being front marked. I would argue it's a defender who's not moving. However, they've got passing lanes.
I see even Tim Blackburn at left half is creeping up the field, hoping to get some action. Good step.
This is where, if we're commentating on, let's say, a Pro League game and it gets to this kind of scoreline, you start asking the questions of, right, so what's the purpose for the opponent and what's the purpose of the team that are in a dominating position? And you then go, well, it's about patterns, it's about practicing the right things. We then look at it from a Spirit of Masters perspective and go, where are we now from a scoreline? And you're right, it's dominant, but the US have probably got to look at it and go, right, let's see what we get, stick on ball. Let's see what simple passes we can make. Let's try and work our way to the halfway line with the ball under control. We've only got 30 seconds left to the break. Let's just see if we can hold the ball when we get it. The danger now is every time they get it and they hit it away, England are coming back with interest after, what, 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah. So with all the time in the world to pick something, and he just can't find Richard Candy on the piece box.
That's a nice little defensive edge, isn't it? It's a nice little glancing blow off the outside foot, nudging it off. Deflections are allowed in the rules. It's definitely not playing it over the baseline.
That brings us to the end of the half with England comfortably ahead here in this match at 7-0. We're going to have a short break now and we'll see you for the second half for some more entertaining hockey.
We are fascinated by the mindsets and the habits that make individuals and teams perform at another level. Let us be your thought partners and transformational coaches. Are you part of a team and you are wanting to gain insight into what ingredients need to be in the mix to take your team to a whole new level of performance? Partner with us. We want to be your transformational coaches.
That waiting for the gun, the nerves are just too much, thinking about what is about to go down.
And there goes the horn to start the race.
No, I think it's really amazing. And now the whole setup and people are dressed up.
We're giving something, I think, to the people that's just fantastic.
The support on the side of the road is second to none, and that gives you the extra oomph.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. The scenery is beyond what I could imagine. I seriously enjoyed it. I met so many wonderful people on the way.
Really enjoying Cape Town. People seem to really appreciate artwork here, which is really nice.
Come and visit Cape Town. We are waiting for you with open arms. We welcome you here. This will remain a city of hope and opportunity for everyone, not just in Cape Town, but around the country and the world.
And he takes the tape.
Cape Town is open, safe and ready to host you.
At thehockeysite.com, it's about what happens in the locker room, thinking about the game. It's about planning and preparation, and about training and improving those skills, looking at it from different angles. But of course, it's also about teaching them to score and win. Thehockeysite.com. Share the knowledge.
good news is for future days, they're actually going to move, because the line has not turned up, they're going to move, there's going to be no more 7 o'clock games. It'll be 5:15 but at a different location. And I think they're going to move it to UC. So we won't have to use any 7 o'clock in worry about.
As you join us, we're back live here in Cape Town, the World Masters Hockey Tournament. We've got an interesting game in front of us here. It's the spirit of Masters Hockey. We played the first half on the English team, been rampant, 7-love up against the USA team, and we come back to get some good action from you. Simon, do you think the USA could get a goal out of this game?
To be brutally honest, off the back of the first half, no. However, what they are doing is they are trying to leave a player really high up the field, and if England resort to a dribbling running game, then the US have got those long hit passes. They are trying to execute them from 16s, so consequently there is always that opportunity. Ball there. You're only talking about fractions of a difference. Suddenly Malik Akhtar is stepping a little bit higher. You've only got to connect with 1 or 2 of those. Deflection ball, far post, a little bit of defensive frailty, and there is that option, but we didn't see it in the first half. So it's more a little bit hopeful, I think, than it is that you'd put much of a bet on it at this point. Not that we condone gambling, of course.
Mark Sidner's back on the field again, wrapped up with his wound that he had earlier. Took a ball on the, looked like on a bit of the eyebrow. But they breathed their stuff.
Ours went up to 2, it's only just coming down. It's still 179. And I'm a diesel driver, so they charge me even more. I have a diesel and a petrol.
Big crossball on the field there. Just open up the space. It's going to be interesting to see what the English team do. It does become a training exercise, trying to figure out how to piece together the passes. See if you can find circle entries, find clean shots of goal. Keep motivated, keep going.
And that's the absolute key. It's setting those really small performance targets, because these are still 2 international teams representing country. There's a lot of pride out there. And so it's looking at, right, can we get the precision in our passing? We're going to get harder games as this competition goes on from an English perspective. For the US, they're facing a dominant opponent. That, for example, really good step through by the centre half, stepping into midfield. Amir Akhtar, the captain, is trying to police that middle space by being a little bit more aggressive, and you have to make those tiny, small personal decisions about the running that you're going to do. That's a really good touch. Candy put pressure on, but the step forward from Asim Siddiqui, just a little inside edge to get it off the baseline. That's a left wing tackle if you've ever seen one. All or nothing. That's a tackle or a corner. There's nothing else there.
Talking about the problem that England might have is if the players are running with the ball too much and running the ball into trouble instead of passing. It's got to be very careful here. I see a couple of players now running with the ball. Mark Sidner had one there. Just ran a little bit too far, got too close to the defender. Instead of letting the ball go early, making the ball some work.
Yeah, the minute you carry it, you give your opponent the chance to engage in a 50-50 running battle. And whilst the US are going to be tired because they're chasing, they have still got some legs. They're still working pretty hard. All you have to do in a situation like this to be dominant is, it's that old cliched phrase, is you make the ball do the work. Get it, give it, get it, give it, get it, give it. And then the lead off the ball can be shorter and more dynamic, changing through spaces, changing lines. That's how you then dominate the remainder of the game. The minute you turn this into what is technically called a dribble fest, is it goes nowhere. That's a lovely ball down the right-hand side there to find Candy, who'd led wide.
Circle entry, but a really good sliding save there. You can be more technical on that save.
Yeah, it's a single foot. It's exactly what you say. It's 1 foot first, sliding on his backside. He's got the sole of his shoe on it, literally exactly like that. A big stop sign. Candy though with a chance round the goalkeeper. That is a class finish. Goalkeeper's come out fractionally late. Tried to support his fullback. Both of them have got turned because Candy knows where the space is. Rolled off his right shoulder, found an empty net.
That's quality finish at any level. rolling around, creating the open space, and keeping the ball on his stick the whole way through until the finish. Often we find people lift the ball off their stick trying to pull the trigger with a big hit instead of just the flick.
I go back many, many years when I was goalkeeping, is you would look to see, I used to like players going to my reverse stick because they were on their forehand, then they can see the goal, and that's when they would take a stick off it to try and shoot on the forehand, and that's when as a goalkeeper you could go underneath and just sweep it clear. So absolutely, stick on ball, find space and just get it towards that danger point.
Just evading again. England now reverting to playing a little more on the outside, trying to get the ball on the flanks, on the field, and then catching back in once they're around the outside.
Well, Comrath very, very nearly with a beautiful bit of what's colloquial term anti-skill as he's tried to pull it under his feet. The overhead comes down with snow on it because it's been shut right up into the blue sky.
Working the ball on the right-hand flank.
That's a lovely little 1-2, and it's an aggressive challenge that's come in. Unfortunately, it's late from Karmjit Singh. He can see the danger because it was a beautiful interchange between Stainton and Daly down that right-hand side. Really well measured passes, and it opened up the US.
The umpire might have let his advantage go a bit longer there, but definitely a foul play that happened.
Yeah, it is one of those moments, isn't it, that you see it as a player or a coach, and that tackle comes in, and it was heavy, and it was loud as well. You talked about it earlier on about umpires umpiring sound, and I agree, there was the opportunity. The defenders missed it. They've stepped in aggressively, so all of their forward momentum is taking them away from the opponent.
Advantage being played now. Good offload there. This is good hockey when it goes to small skills.
Well, and that, I agree with the advantage, 100%, but I genuinely do think that the umpires, I mean Ian Moss in that instance, has to have a quiet word with Matt Liciadello, because that's 2 from 2 that he's gone to ground at the top of the circle, and that is creating danger yourself. We can argue about the legality of it in terms of putting your body in the way, so that is a deliberate, conscious decision going to ground, so therefore you're looking at minimum rearward corner, potential upgrade to a penalty stroke because of the decision, but more than anything, you're just asking to get hurt, and that's what, in my opinion at this level, the umpires are looking to minimise, is a little bit of stupidity, a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of a rush of the blood to the head, and just a quiet word in the ear to go, you know what, you just don't need to do that. Whatever the scoreline is, 8-0 down, 9-0 down, and why is the question you've got to ask.
Especially just takes one play on the other side to cleanly hit a ball when you're lying there.
And that's the issue, isn't it? It's a player possibly executing something you don't expect. If you do that because you're trying to run in front of a hit ball and suddenly the player then drag flicks it, your head is at ground level. And it's almost that what if. I was going to say, that's a beautiful Arthur Van Doren style left half to right wing reverse stick pass. Unfortunately, there was nobody on the right wing, but the execution through the space was spot on. For those of you who don't know, Arthur Van Doren, Belgian, World Player of the Year on several occasions, and is quite good.
Really, really good player. Fantastic to watch as well. Just so neat. Effortless hockey.
Great pass. Lovely first time ball.
Oh, well left. This could be a great goal. The first lead was intentional, but it went straight through, and that is quality finishing.
Oh, good awareness. It's Richard Wesencraft, Wes, who's finished it. But it was a beautiful ball off from Comrath, who just, you're absolutely right, it's gone through 2 or 3 players. It should never have got there in the first instance, but it's that interchange of play through midfield. It was a beautiful early first-time ball, and then England just found the diagonals.
It's good position in the circle, getting guys on the edges so that you're covering all the options that go through. So when the ball was was missed, there was an option still. But then the unselfish play is what I like. I like the ball being played back into a play in the open goal. Too often we see the selfish player have a roof it from 0 degrees.
And as a coach, surely that's what you want in the circle structurally from the players. I know you want fluidity and you want immediate decision making, but in principle you still need a framework of shape.
There's always that fine line with coaching where you've got an instinctive forward who wants to shoot and they just want to pull the trigger from everywhere. And then you need the compass to come and say, hold on a second, in these situations maybe there's a team around me that I need to work with as well. And that's that balance you've got to find the whole time. Not killing the shooting spirit, but at the same time not frustrating all your mates who want to run far post and be there for you for seconds.
And it is that really difficult line as a coach. You don't want to coach skill out of players. If they're and what is the line? Is there if you're within 3 meters of the baseline, you don't have a go, but then 4 meters you do. And if you put it over the goalie's right shoulder and bag it up in the top corner, you want to applaud that. But at the same time, the principle is such that you want it to be team goals as much as anything. Lovely take. That's a great running pick. Backhand from Matt Goodwin as he's nicked that away.
Guilty of running with the ball there and getting caught.
That's just a 50-50 ball to nothing. That has to be blown in England's favour. You've chucked it into contested space. I just don't, again, it's an understanding from up here. You look at it and you go, why would you throw a 45-degree overhead to centre midfield where there's 4 players underneath it? If you're going to throw overhead, chuck some space down the line to get yourself out of trouble.
We could start an end discussion about the overhead rule and how it's blown in the world.
Well, yeah. Ignoring how it's blown, and there are vagaries around the world, shall we say, and I think that the new interpretation of being able to step within that 5 metre zone, as long as you take it down cleanly, it's not dangerous, it's not within playing distance. I get it. I understand why that's now in, and it is wholly relevant at the top level. It allows the best players to do what they're good at. But once you start going down to third 11 and juniors, in my opinion, you just blow it exactly as it was. 5 metres, make sure there's no danger, get the ball down safely. All those things have to come into play beyond wanting we want to see the best skills at world level.
Interesting outcomes come from that, because when we've been coaching it, we've been seeing an entry here from England. Great ball across the face. Short corner being awarded. Is that often if a forward lets the defender catch it and stands quite close to them, they get an advantage by being able to tackle them quite quickly if they're just patient, but it just doesn't happen. As the ball's coming down, the forward wants to get in there and catch it, and then it becomes mayhem again.
And it is, there are so many interpretations, but you do look at it and you just, the word that you used, which I think is so crucial to hockey at all levels, is patience. You don't need to rush. I say it so many times, and playing at lower level on field now, defensively, so many defenders will get a ball on their stick and they'll throw it away wanting to get it out of danger. As opposed to, you know what, stand still, find a channel.
A little bit off target or good zigzag, time and space.
There's that goalkeeping double-footed slide jump. I won't use all the foam I've got on. I'll use the rubber on the base of my shoes. However, successful in that moment. England really close to executing a good zigzag, but the ability to get the shot away quickly was compromised.
Just couldn't get it away there. I've seen some of the previous fixtures. The common feature is teams at this level hanging 2 forwards higher permanently during the game, and then leaning back. And the USA team aren't getting the ball forward much, but maybe just getting a couple more players higher, they can then lead back into space to fetch the ball, because at the moment, when they do get the ball going forward, there just aren't no options available.
That's a tired Chase, doing everything he possibly can, Rob Groot, to get that ball away. There's just no sprinting left in those legs. Keep the ball, look in front now. Again, those moments, just look at those interchanges. We talked about it moments ago. Patience, you're throwing a blind pass under your arm as you're running right to left or left to right. Just need to really be precise, as that is.
Looking for options.
That's a great goal.
patience, looked up, just delivered it on the spot.
Well, again, Conrath found Wes. Another touch in front of the goalkeeper. Really difficult. The goalkeeper, you feel, could possibly be a little bit more dynamic in that situation, a little bit more aggressive. The defender and the goalkeeper are way out of our camera shot and now having a conversation about what space he should cover. And he's looking at it going, well, I'm not sure I can run that far, the fullback, so therefore it is yours, Keeps. You got to cover that.
I've changed the end Conrad before the game. Apparently his nickname's Veggie. I've got to give a shout out to his family visiting back home as the USA now might have a chance to get something.
Go on. Well, the shot from outside the D is a little strange. Maybe he thought there was someone on that far post, but he ran away from his entire team, who were all a good, looking from here, 20 metres behind him.
Just encourage him to get a short corner, just to see what could happen, get his whole team up there and have a go.
Looks like a broken man, the captain, at this moment in time. Amir Akhtar tried everything he possibly could, but can't see a lot of what we call jump back defending at this moment in time.
Drifting high and high in the field as the game goes on.
But and I say it with humour. I've kind of laughed down a light tone about a number of things here. It's hard work out there, and if you're in this situation, you are under the pump a little bit. It's what 10 zip at this moment in time, and you are trying to do your absolute best. I know it's hard, and I'm not taking it lightly. It's just one of those moments that you look at a player and you go, you've tried everything you possibly got, buddy. You just wanted to put it on a foot. Now it's 3-on-3, 4-on-3 though. If the US can just accelerate, that is exactly the right ball to find that overlapping run of Arif Mahmoud. That, on the other hand, unfortunately, isn't. Mahmoud has just absolutely turned his entire midfield over. And this looks a little bit now like the earlier Malaysia game was. This is like 5-and-5 defence versus attack.
Middle field's empty in the two ends of crowd.
That's a bit of a hit and hope, and it's met with a shake of the head. Unfortunately, from a US perspective, good step forward though, still showing awareness, but it's stolen away by D'Souza.
Circulate to the baseline. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Tuck back.
But look at the lack of movement, and this is the problem for the US now. If you look away to the right of our camera position, all the defenders are standing completely still, and England can just come back in because there's, 10 metre clear space. Swing and a miss.
That was a very, very tight quarter of hockey. Both teams slowing down. I think England might be thinking about the long-term tournament aspect here and don't burn yourself out in this game. But a very tight game, and we've got one more quarter to go to see if we can get the USA, just get us a short corner and see what they can pull up the bag.
O sea, son 50 entonces. Claro, pero dice, son 50, 55. No son más 55. Son más 50. Claro, pero el tipo me dice, somos de 55. No más 55. ¿Entendiste? No más. Ahí está la luna.
Welcome back. We just started the third quarter of this game between the USA and England. This is the Spirit of Masters teams, the players that love playing hockey and have found their way to the World Masters Hockey Cup. An entertaining game, although very one-sided. England dominating this game. They're 10 lap up already. But we're all quietly encouraging the USA to just try and get us a short corner and see if they can put one away and put the England goalkeeper under pressure. What do you think the England team has set us some targets here?
It's one of those things, isn't it, with Spirit of Masters? There is a tour/festival feeling about it, and yet they see themselves here as the England B team. They very much see themselves as the players who've tried to get into the full international side that plays at this age group level, and they haven't quite made it, but therefore they're wearing an England shirt, and they want to take this seriously. And I'm not convinced that they will play flat out to get many more goals. I don't think they'll do that. They'll play through whatever's in front of them. And it's more a case of, if the USA sit deep, can they continue to do the really simple, basic things well? And that, to me, is more of a test for them. It's right, what's the pass completion rate? What's the movement off the ball? Physically, they don't want to damage themselves anymore because they are running around full on for the entire period. England into the circle. They're still trying to work down that left-hand side and find a little bit of space. But this now is the issue for the US, is that they're back within 5 metres of the halfway line in their own half, and England have got no pressure on their distribution channel.
You see the guilt there, running with the ball, just running themselves into trouble instead of making the ball work.
It's recognising what you'd kind of, I guess you call a defensive collapse as you chase the ball and it comes into you. As the players then start to come in, once the number of legs in front of you goes from 2 to 4 to 6, at that point you know that there has to be space off a shoulder. So even if you're driving with your head down, you can almost afford to throw it out on a 45 in front of you because there's bound to be a channel.
Sweeping tackle there was just adjudicated a little bit dangerous. So it gives England time to tip a couple of short corner practices as well. Kind of back in certain situations, put yourself under pressure and see what you can get out of your PCs.
Better injection. Good save on the line. That's a great pick. That's the best routine we've seen from England. Suggestion from friends back in England that my description of this as tour/festival hockey has not gone down well. It's very, very serious for all the players from Woking who are currently listening. Shout out to them.
I'm glad they heard and they commentate back on us.
It just makes us happy that someone's listening, eh?
It's good to hear that. Good to, you said from Woking?
Yeah, so Rich Candy and Mark Robinson both play for Woking. I'm on their WhatsApp training group, so that's... Oh, probably. In that clubhouse, they've had the bar open since about 8:30 this morning.
Good supporters.
Good carry from D'Souza, really strong.
Trying to find the gap. There it is.
Oh, Candy. However, Woking Hockey Club, you are listening. That is what Candy does on a Thursday night under the dark lights on the far pitch. Takes on the goalkeeper, finds some space, hits the outside of the post.
You can't live that one down, I'm afraid. He had the keeper sprawling, took him out wide, had time to look up even.
Well, although a little bit of credit, it was exactly the right thing to do. You picked, you've rolled, the goalkeeper comes forward towards you. You can see the space off a shoulder, get the goalkeeper to the ground. That's what this goalkeeper has done consistently during the course of this, hasn't he? He's dropped body weight going backwards, immobile once he hits the turf. And I think that's the first time this half that Jan Dekker's had to blow his whistle. It's been that one-sided. Oh, no, that's not true. We did credit that forward run earlier on, didn't we? Where we wanted Amir Akhtar to actually do something on the edge of the D.
The ball was going straight across the D, nobody picking that up.
I suddenly thought a big crowd had turned up, but they've just turned the TV on in the clubhouse behind us. I'm not sure what it's on. It's possibly not the World Cup Masters hockey at this moment in time, but suddenly it's got very loud.
It sounds like a rugby match of some sort. Yeah, this game being played at the Western Province Cricket Club, one of the biggest sports clubs in Cape Town, and home to a very, very popular sports bar where people gather to watch on the big screens all different sporting activities around the world. Rugby definitely been one of them.
Well, it's just fabulous that so many teams can come to this competition and experience the hospitality that South Africa offer, but not just that. It's all about it's the culture, but it's the sporting heritage that we see. I mean, I heard 80 teams who are involved across five turfs, 3 venues at this competition. I mean, it's just fantastic to see that level of enthusiasm. And some players, I'm lucky enough I come here at least once a year, but as you see, a shot just goes awry. But some players will never have been here. Some players from Argentina, I know, haven't been out of Argentina before, and suddenly they get the opportunity to travel. It's a great, with Masters hockey, the community, the culture is expanding so much. It gives so many chances for players.
It has been fascinating to watch the growth of Masters hockey. It's just grown as an entity. I mean, idea of playing locally and doing some games, and it's so coordinated now. People are so passionate about them. I know friends of mine that have just put in so much training effort to get themselves back into shape, to play at this level, and of course, keeps them healthy. That's the best part.
Hugely, and this being the second of 3 World Cups, the first one for the 35s and 40s was in Nottingham, where they saw 49 teams, I think it was, from 19 countries take part, and they are players who are pretty much just out of top-end league hockey, so the quality there was absolutely fabulous. Here, the age groups just start to extend a little bit. The legs have gone, but the skill and the passion, the desire is still there. And then the third competition for the men is out in Tokyo. So that's, I think, the 60s, 65s, 70s and 75s. International over 75 Grand Masters. And that is where there is slightly less mobility at times. If you've still got both hips and both knees, you have a definite advantage.
Hockey tournament.
Brilliant. However, what's interesting when you watch that, and I happen to be involved with the England over 75 selection trials. 40 players turned up to try and win an English shirt at over 75s, and they did a 3-hour training session at the end of which there was only 21 still moving. So it is survival of the fittest.
Last man stands. It's amazing because you win on so many levels. People still passionate about the game are willing to give back. And at this level, they own companies and they've got businesses and they've got access to finances that can support development of the sport in different areas. Young kids coming through. We've got a couple of our masters that are playing in the 45 and South African team that are actively looking after orphan kids and trying to get them into sport, which I think is a great initiative. And that kind of giving back to sport and still playing for a long time. You can't hold that back.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think we're speaking philosophically really about hockey now. You look at this, and you can't necessarily do this, but could you bring in and support some junior development hockey at a competition like this? Now, okay, these fields are being used from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, so probably not across the turf, but these are the sort of players who, maybe some of them have played senior, normal international hockey, but they're suddenly in the twilight of an international career potentially. Could they teach people? Could they learn from this?
No, it is amazing. If you look just in the area we're in here in Cape Town, the schools especially, but I think we've got about 12 astroturfs in about a 5-kilometre square radius. Schools that are actively playing hockey, clubs that are playing hockey. There's so much access to astros around here for hockey. And using of that is in the training sessions for this World Cup. We had, we're playing in white today. An entry game here for a goal. Actually trained against some of the club under 15 18s to get the young boys, see what they're doing, work with them with some ideas. The games were quite even at some stages, but just get the training matches in against young kids who could also then learn from the experience. The best part was after the matches, the two teams sit down and chat. Yeah, the USA are leaving the player very high, hoping to get one long-range ball.
Well, that's what we spoke about right in the beginning. This is the same pattern as they played in the first quarter, the first 15, where they had that long ball option and they're looking for it. They've got the hitters from the back, but unfortunately, I think the gap is now the physical gap between defence and attack now is just too great. You can leave somebody up there, but unfortunately, because England haven't been tested for long periods of time, physically they're unlikely to get into any trouble, and therefore they can police that front line defensive position.
A little bit scrappy now, but the more short corners they can get, just to practice their short corners, it's not a bad thing.
Well, the last one particularly was the best one they've had, wasn't it? It was a really crisp injection, and people focus on the striker so much, but it's not about necessarily the striker in isolation. It's about how fast can I get the ball to the edge of the circle, how clean is the trap. That gives the time. The reason we see shots charged down is not because of the striker, it's because of the routine timing. That's another great save on the line. However, number one runner, once again, Supermaning on the turf at the top of the D. You're just asking to get absolutely nailed.
Another great save on the line, though. Said that the amount of streaming and video you've got of hockey around the world now, it's unbelievable. It's exploded. The amount of visual sense of hockey boys and girls can get as youngsters watching world hockey. It's just endless. The streams are there. We often do analysis of world teams to get a sense of what they do, and it's always blown us away is the Indian men's team. The secret to their short corner, the injection and the trap is just clockwork every single time. In fact, when they do get one wrong, it's 1 out of 7 or 8, and you just can't believe that it's that fast and that accurate. And the Indian drag figures it all the time in the world because it is such clinical work that they get the ball out.
And it's what's called closed skills, isn't it? I mean, you practice the injection and the trap is a closed skill. For me, the flick, because you have pressure from the number one runner, is a skill under contest. But the injection and the trap, there is nothing influencing that other than the physical skill of those two players. And if you can get it on the money, bang on. And it amazes me, this running injection that we now see, particularly in the women's game. I know that if I tried that, I'd be spooning it off the side of a pitch or missing the ball on the pickup, whichever, to try and get the ball top D, quick as possible, bang on the money, no more than 10 centimetres off, is insanely good.
I haven't seen the dart yet, so I don't know what the time saved is, but I've always had the feeling that when you have a run-up, you're kind of given in a defensive front corner team. You see the England team trying to get something more, good leave on the side netting. To give the first away of an indication of when you're going to be injecting, because you are telegraphing your movements. So I've always wondered whether the time you save by the action, whether the telegraphing actually works out. I need somebody to go and do the timings for me and get the radar out and see what the outcome of it is. But a lot of the teams are doing it now.
They are. I mean, I think, however, that the other option that we don't see very often, which is a little bit bizarre given the accuracy of what I'll call a slingshot slap. If you look at that, that's a static skill. You can do that potentially without giving as much of a run-up and a momentum shift. The speed that players deliver that is dead flat, right to the top of the circle. And I wonder, you do see it occasionally, but not that often. I just wonder if that's something that we might see to generate a little bit more time, particularly in the men's game now. I think the number one runners are running down something like 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, something like that. They're getting enough on the ball, albeit body, so it's illegal and it's a re-award, but repetition leads to error on the actual offensive routine. So how's it going to get to the top of the D quicker in the men's game and the women's game that's going to give time for a shot? We are obviously wholly impartial, but hoping for a missed trap as we play to the underdog.
Trying to get something out of this. There's more discussion in world hockey right now about short corners, their future and how they're going to play out. They've had a questionnaire running around the world to see what the opinions of various people are. Do you think it's going going to change in the near future?
I'll come back to it once Pinder Sagu, in a wholly unusual position of right wing, finds himself up there. I think it's interesting because there's a lot of people who are saying that the FH want to change the short corner. My opinion of what I hope the survey is to establish whether enough people think that it is dangerous to then allow some data analysis. That's my issue, because at the moment there is no data. There's very little limited injury data. So, however, we've got to answer what hockey expects. You came back to this, you mentioned this earlier on about what's the expectation of hockey. If there is a massive perception that penalty corners are dangerous, then it means the FH have to look into... Has that gone? Oh, somehow that's missed. The FH then have to look into getting some actual analysis as to why and how is it dangerous. My opinion, wholly personal, is that penalty corners, the perception of danger from the striker and the flick on the drag flick corner is caused, that danger is caused because of how we are allowing the running wave to put pressure on, and therefore the vision of the goalkeeper and particularly the line player is obscured until probably 9 metres in front of them. That's what causes the danger. If you put a goalkeeper and a post player on the line with clear sight of a striker, the number of times that player will get hit in a dangerous manner is minimal. So actually it's the routine as a whole and what we're allowing to happen. We've just talked about in this game a number one runner running and throwing himself on the turf. That to me, far more dangerous than the actual routine in itself. So there has to be some real cold hard analysis of facts until we get to that point. That is a very long answer to a short question, which is, do I want penalty corners to change? No.
Being a drag flick coach myself, I'd hate to see all those hours I've spent on the pitch coaching drag flickers just get tossed out the window and say they shouldn't be drag flicking anymore. I think you're right.
And afterwards, not only during the game, after the game.
Short corners is amazing, because when it does go wrong, it goes wrong big. And it's mitigating those big ones that makes a big difference, and I think you're right. The world went through a patch where we had people running on the barrel simply because a coach from a country said, we need you to die for our country, basically, and run down the barrel, wear something from a flicker that's truly horrendous. And the rules have changed to mitigate that. The one thing I've got to say is hockey is an amazing sport where we can change the rules from year to year. We're not static. We don't go from year to year and say that no, the rules were like this in 1869, therefore they're going to stay the same. Every year there are trial rules, they try new things, and the idea is always to make the game exciting, make it fast. Down now. We're looking at the end of this game. Sorry we got distracted there. The game ends 10-11. It's been fantastic chatting to you, Simon, as always. Good to have you on the side of the pitch. The game was a bit one-sided, but we've got a lot of information on the second half.
We digressed massively, didn't we? However, the last quarter of the actual hockey was irrelevant, but I think we've discussed or opened some cans of worms that maybe we can chat about later on in the week. Thanks for your time.